Every man has a secret list, words he wishes he could hear but would never dare ask for, not because he doesn't care, but because he's been taught not to. Today, I'm going to reveal the 7 things men love to hear but are too embarrassed to mention. If you've ever wondered what truly melts a man's heart, you're about to find out. Men are taught from a very young age to be strong, stoic, and self-reliant. The messaging is subtle but consistent. Don't cry, don't complain, don't ask for help. Over time, this conditioning creates a man who is emotionally guarded, someone who's learned to swallow his feelings rather than express them. But just because he doesn't always show it, doesn't mean he doesn't feel it. In fact, many men feel things deeply. They just lack the tools or the permission to voice those feelings out loud. When a man falls in love or invests emotionally in someone, he craves something more than physical closeness. He wants to be understood, valued, and emotionally validated. But most of the time, he's too embarrassed or afraid to ask for it directly. There's a powerful difference between a man hearing "I love you" and a man hearing something specific about himself that makes you say those words. When you say, "I love the way you protect the people you care about," or "I admire how focused you are on your goals," it's not just love, it's recognition. And that recognition goes deep because it tells him he's not invisible. He's not just filling space in your life, he's contributing something meaningful. That kind of emotional validation is something he won't ever request out loud, but when he receives it, it builds a connection he won't want to walk away from. Most men are walking through life wondering if they're doing enough for their partner, enough in their career, enough to be respected by others. It's a quiet, constant question running in the background. So when someone he loves affirms that yes, he is enough, not through vague reassurance, but by noticing his efforts, his intentions, and his growth, it gives him something the world rarely offers him: peace. When he hears that he's appreciated not for the image he projects, but for the man he really is underneath, he lets his guard down. That's when you get the real version of him, the one who trusts you enough to be fully seen. Words that validate a man emotionally don't have to be grand or poetic. Sometimes it's as simple as saying, "I'm proud of you," or "I notice how hard you try, and it means a lot to me." Those kinds of words may sound small, but to a man who's been carrying unspoken expectations on his shoulders, they feel like a weight being lifted. They touch something he didn't even realize was starving. And even though he may laugh it off or act like it's no big deal, he'll remember what you said for a long time. Because in that moment you gave him something he wasn't sure he was allowed to want. When you tell a man he looks good, sure, he'll smile, maybe even thank you, but often the compliment will bounce right off him. Not because he doesn't appreciate it, but because deep down, that's not where he feels most insecure or hungry for approval. What truly impacts a man is when you compliment the things he pours his energy, time, and identity into. Things like his drive, his resilience, his loyalty, or his ability to solve problems under pressure. These are the qualities he's proud of, but doesn't always feel recognized for. When you speak to those parts of him, it cuts through the surface and lands where it really matters. A man may not spend hours obsessing over how he looks, but he definitely worries about whether he's doing a good job in life. He wants to be the kind of person who earns respect, who shows up for others, who has something valuable to offer the world. When you say something like, "I love the way you never give up when things get hard," or "You're the kind of person who always finds a way," that's not just a compliment, it's a mirror reflecting back his best self. You're telling him that you see what makes him unique, that you understand what he's striving for, even when he's too tired to talk about it. He may act humble about it or deflect the praise, but inside, it sticks with him. That's because those kinds of affirmations go far beyond surface level attraction. They speak to his mission, his identity, the kind of man he wants to be. He may not talk about it openly, but men are always measuring themselves against a silent ruler of success, and too often they feel like they're falling short. So when you recognize his effort, not just the results, but the intention behind what he does, it makes him feel like he's being seen in a way the rest of the world doesn't bother to see. Most men won't admit how much they want to be admired, not just liked. They want to feel like their partner looks up to them in some way, not in a submissive sense, but in a way that says, I see your strength and I believe in you. That kind of admiration doesn't feed his ego, it fuels his purpose. It reminds him why he's doing what he's doing, and it anchors him to the relationship in a way that's deeper than attraction. So when you speak about his character, his focus, his integrity, things that go beyond the physical, you're giving him a kind of emotional nourishment he rarely receives. And even if he pretends it doesn't matter, deep down, he'll carry those words with him, especially in the moments when he starts to doubt himself. There's something powerful that happens when a man feels chosen, not just loved out of routine, not just kept around because of history, but actively chosen. It's an emotional reassurance that goes far beyond the surface. In a world full of competition and comparison, where everyone is constantly exposed to highlight reels of other people's lives, men often wonder where they stand. Even confident men sometimes question whether they are truly enough. When a woman looks him in the eye and communicates verbally or otherwise that out of all the options she could have, she chooses him, it reaches a part of him he doesn't often let anyone see. It's not about stroking his ego. It's about satisfying that quiet need to be significant to someone who matters. Most men won't say it, but one of the deepest fears they carry in relationships is the fear of being replaceable. That maybe one day someone more exciting, more successful, or more charismatic will walk in and they'll be forgotten. This fear usually stays buried under silence and jokes, but it shows up in the way they react to distance, to conflict, to moments of insecurity. So when you tell him, I want you, not just anyone, not just someone like you, but you calm that fear. You remind him that he's not just holding a temporary place, but that he matters deeply and uniquely to you. Along with being chosen, trust plays a critical role. When you tell a man you trust him, when you show him that you're not questioning his intentions or constantly watching for signs of weakness or failure, it gives him space to breathe. Trust tells him that he's earned something rare and fragile, something that matters. A man who feels trusted will often rise to the level of that trust. He'll want to protect it, to live up to it, to become the man who deserves it again and again. And the truth is, many men don't experience that kind of trust very often, especially if they've been in past relationships where they were doubted, second-guessed, or misunderstood. The combination of being chosen and being trusted creates an emotional security that most men crave but don't know how to ask for. It's something that speaks to their core, telling them they are seen not just as providers, problem solvers, or protectors, but as men worth investing in, men worthy of loyalty. And even if they don't openly acknowledge how much it means, they carry it with them. It shapes how they show up, how they communicate, how deeply they open up. When you give a man the gift of feeling chosen and trusted, you create a foundation of connection that's hard to shake, one that will pull him closer even in moments of doubt or distance. He might never say the words, but he'll feel it, and more importantly, he'll remember exactly where he felt it. There's a moment in every relationship where a man opens up and shares something he rarely tells anyone. It might be a fear, a failure, a moment of insecurity, or a dream he's never dared to speak out loud. And in that moment, even if he plays it cool on the surface, he's scanning the room emotionally. He's watching your reaction, Not with his eyes, but with his heart. Because for him, vulnerability is a risk. It's stepping out from behind the armor he's worn most of his life. And the truth is, most men are terrified of what might happen if they're truly seen. From the time they're young, men are conditioned to associate vulnerability with weakness. Crying was something to hide. Struggling was something to push through. Asking for emotional support was rarely modeled, let alone rewarded. So when a man does show that side of himself, it's a big deal. And if in that moment the woman he trusts sees it, not just hears it, but truly sees it, and acknowledges the courage it took, it changes everything. When a man hears, "Thank you for sharing that," or "I know that wasn't easy for you," it's not just appreciation, it's emotional safety. It tells him that being real with you doesn't make him less of a man. It makes him more human, more loved, more valued. Men don't need someone to fix their problems. They've been taught to do that themselves. What they need is someone who doesn't flinch when they expose their emotional scars. Someone who can sit with them in their moment of truth and not treat it like it's something to clean up or push past. When a woman treats a man's vulnerability with gentleness, it gives him permission to keep showing up in that way. And when that happens, the connection deepens. It's no longer just a relationship based on attraction or shared interests. It's something built on mutual understanding. Most men are not used to hearing that vulnerability makes them more attractive. They expect to be judged for it, not admired. So when you say something like, "I love that you're comfortable being real with me," or "It makes me respect you even more that you were honest about that," it reshapes how he sees himself. Suddenly that part of him he was hiding becomes something he's proud of. He may not say it out loud, but inside he feels closer to you than before. And it's not about grand declarations, it's in the small responses, the softness in your voice, the way you listen without interrupting, the calm in your energy when he shares something heavy. That's what stays with him. It's how he knows he's not just performing a role or playing a part, he's being accepted, flaws and all. And for a man who spent years feeling like he has to always be strong, always be put together, that kind of acceptance is unforgettable. There's something incredibly powerful that happens when a man feels admired for his masculinity, not in a cliche or performative way, but in the subtle ways that acknowledge his strength, leadership, or protective nature. He may never ask for this kind of recognition, but when it's given, it feeds something deep inside him. Every man wants to feel like a hero to the person he loves. He wants to feel like he matters, that he brings something unique and valuable to the table. And when a woman reflects that back to him through simple words, it does more than stroke his ego. It reinforces his identity in the relationship. It could be as simple as saying, "I feel safe when I'm with you." That one sentence carries more weight than you'd expect. It tells him he's doing something right, that he's fulfilling a role he takes seriously but doesn't often get praised for. Or maybe it's saying, "I trust your judgment," or "You handled that situation like a pro." These aren't dramatic compliments, but to a man, they fuel. They affirm his sense of responsibility, his problem-solving instincts, and his ability to lead, qualities he might not even be sure are noticed. Most men won't walk around saying they want to be admired, but they feel the difference when they are. It shows up in how confident they are around you, how open they become, how willing they are to do more and give more. When a woman expresses appreciation for how he shows up, especially in his masculine energy, when she sees not just what he does, but why he does it, it creates a bond that goes beyond attraction. He feels respected, and for men, respect often hits even harder than love. It's important to understand that this kind of admiration doesn't require flattery. Men can tell the difference between empty praise and genuine appreciation. What really matters is when a woman notices the details, the way he stayed calm under pressure, how he protected her in a subtle way during a stressful moment, or how he took charge when no one else stepped up. Recognizing those moments and saying something like, "You handle that like a man," doesn't just make him feel good. It tells him, you see who he is, not just what he does. These affirmations can come in quiet moments when you're riding in the car and you say, "I love how you always make me feel taken care of." Or after a tough day when you say, "Watching how you keep it together even when it's hard makes me respect you even more." He may just nod or shrug it off, but inside it lands. It stays. Because in a world that's constantly challenging what it means to be a man, your words remind him that his strength is not just useful, it's meaningful, and it's appreciated by the person who matters most. There's something quietly powerful about a woman saying, "You make me happy." It seems simple, almost too obvious, but to a man, those words carry more weight than most people realize. Deep down, men want to know that their presence, their efforts, and their love are truly making a difference in someone's life. They may never admit it, and they may act like they don't need the reassurance, but they do. A man is constantly trying to measure his worth in silent ways, through what he provides, how he shows up, and whether or not he's enough for the person he cares about. So, when you tell him that he brings you joy, it satisfies a core part of him that's usually left unspoken. Many men grow up believing their value is tied to what they can do for others. Solve problems, fix situations, protect, provide. So in a relationship, that belief shows up in subtle ways. He tries to be your rock, your calm during chaos, your stability when things are uncertain. And while he may not seek constant praise, he is quietly observing, wondering if what he's doing is working. That's why a sincere statement like, "You make my life better," doesn't just feel nice, it's deeply validating. It tells him he's not just going through the motions or fulfilling a role. He's actually succeeding at one of the things that matter most to him, making you feel good. When a man knows he's the reason for your smile, he carries that with him. It becomes a kind of fuel. It strengthens his emotional commitment. It makes him want to keep showing up, keep doing more, keep being the kind of man who brings even more happiness into your life. It doesn't need to come with a dramatic gesture. Even saying, "I feel more peaceful when I'm with you," or "You know how to make my bad days better," is enough to light him up inside. You're telling him he's not just seen, he's felt. And for a man, that's everything. Often men don't know exactly what to ask for when it comes to emotional needs. They're not always skilled at expressing vulnerability, and they're taught that needing reassurance is somehow weak. So instead they stay quiet, hoping their actions will speak for themselves. When those actions are acknowledged, when they're told that they're succeeding at being a source of love and joy, it relieves a quiet pressure they've been carrying. It tells them, "You're not falling short, you're doing better than you think." He may not react outwardly, he might smile, brush it off, or change the subject, but deep inside, he's absorbing it, holding on to it, remembering it during the times when he starts to doubt whether he's enough. Because in a world that often tells men to just keep grinding, keep pushing, and keep providing, hearing that he brings happiness to someone he loves is one of the most grounding, affirming things he can experience. So, while men may not always say it out loud, While they may laugh off a compliment or shift the topic when emotions surface, the truth is they hear you, they feel your words, they carry them. The things they're too embarrassed to ask for are often the things they need most: to be seen, to be chosen, to be trusted, to be admired. Not just for what they do, but for who they are. Every word of appreciation, every moment you recognize his effort, every time you affirm his strength or honor his vulnerability, you're not just making him feel good. You're building a bridge of emotional connection he doesn't find just anywhere. When you speak to the man behind the mask, when you love him in the quiet ways he never had the courage to request, you unlock a version of him the world never gets to see. And that version, that's the one who stays.